Hey, Travis here at Books, Builds, and More, and today I'll be doing the 2026 Mid-Year Freakout book tag. I was tagged by Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook to do this tag. There are 13 prompts to it, and 14 if you count tag others. And because this is a mid-year tag, and I haven't read in large scope a whole lot of books this year so far, some of these answers may be repetitive, just to let you know ahead of time. But anyway, let's get started. Prompt number 1. What is the best book you've read so far? Oh, easy. Absolutely easy. West with Giraffes by Linda Rutledge. This book was my first and only 5-star read thus far this year. And it was just a great read. Historical fiction about this 105-year-old man who's recounting his life in his younger, this one specific event that took place in his youth where he helped drive 2 giraffes that survived transportation during a hurricane in the ocean to rescue them by sending them to the San Diego Zoo back in 1938. It was during the Great Depression, at the beginning, right before the beginning of World War II, and it was just a fascinating read. It was just absolutely an incredible read, more than what I expected. Prompt number 2, what is the best sequel you've read so far? Well, speaking of Nicole, I'm going to go with her books, the second and third books of her Midnight Detective Agency urban fantasy series, Murderous Fairies Book 2 and Midnight Murders Book 3. These are just, both of these are steps up from her original novel, which was excellent, by the way. Very good. It's a very good series. But this is a series I predict is going to get better with each volume. So it's kind of a equal playing ground with these. Prompt number 3, what is the best reread so far? I haven't reread anything from the past either. No, I don't have any rereads, so I can't really answer that one. Prompt number 4, what is a new release you haven't read yet but want to? One in particular is called Monsters in the Archives, My Year of Fear with Stephen King by Caroline Bix. I think this is some kind of autobiographical novel where the author is talking about, Stephen King. I think a lot of his golden era books, like Carrie, Christine, Salem's Lot, The Stand, So I'm really curious to get that because last year, at the end of 2025, I read his memoir on writing, and it was just incredible. It was a great read, and I'm looking forward to seeing what somebody else says about his work. Prompt number 5, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? Speaking of Stephen King, I have to go with The Talisman Dark 3. It's called Other Worlds Than These. And it's co-written, of course, by Peter Straub, just like his book, The Talisman, and the sequel to that, Black House, which I have lined up for part of my Dark Tower journey reading. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I think it comes out October 6th. So I'm looking forward to that one. If I'm not done with the Dark Tower by that time, I may pick that up and go along with that and put it in there to see if it falls in with the timeline. I'm not sure. Right now, I feel like I could get through with the entire Dark Tower journey that I'm doing by the end of September at least. But if not, I will probably go ahead and pick that book up. I may do that. I don't know. So it may change later on. I'm just not sure. But yeah, that's probably my most anticipated release for that one. Prompt number 6. What is your biggest reading disappointment? Oh, this was a no-brainer too, but that's Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Yeah, I'm to this day, even though I just read this a month ago, to this day, it's still, I can't decide on how to feel about this book. I gave it an unstable 3-star read because it's just a neutral book. I loved it and hated it. There were things I liked about it, things I didn't like about it. It's just an unsettled read for me, and that disappoints me because I want to actually feel something stable about it, but I can't. I just can't. It's just one of those ambiguous reads. That's just kind of forever ambiguous to me right now. So I don't know. Maybe it would be a reread later in the future so I can settle on something a little more stable with it. But right now, it's just how it goes. Prompt number 7. What is your biggest reading surprise? I would have to go with this one, The Scarlet Pimpernel by Baroness Orczy. This was not what I expected it to be, or told in the way that I expected it to be. It was, a lot of the action was through Lady Blakeney's eyes in this book and not straight up on the page. Although we did get some on-page action in this book, don't get me wrong. But a lot of it was just through this woman's eyes in this book, because it was her husband and he was leading this kind of secret identity, this double life, and it was pretty exciting. And it was just more, instead of just a flat out action book, it was more of a character development, I guess, on her part. But I don't know, that was just surprising. I was just kind of surprised by how the book actually turned out structure-wise. Prompt number 8. Who is a favorite new author? It can be a debut author or a new-to-you author. I'm going to have to go with Nicole Brona. Yeah. Yeah, her urban fantasy series just kind of has me hooked. And I'm constantly, even to this day, I'm still thinking about my anticipation of where Tessa and Bloodworth and all those characters are heading in that direction. So I think, because I've been reading mostly Stephen King this year, and he's my favorite author anyway. So, but everything else that I've read is just been kind of one shot. You know, I've been reading quite a lot of classics this year, like Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, which neither of I cared about. Moby Dick, like I just said, didn't really care about. Well, you know how that goes. It's ambiguous. Scarlet Pimpernel, one-time deal. Although that is a series, but I don't know if Baroness Orczy is a new favorite author. I don't know if that would count. So I'm going to go with Nicole Brona as my answer for that one. Prompt number 9. Who is your newest favorite character? Okay, just please hear me out on this one. It's actually a villain, and I'm going to go with Randall Flagg by Stephen King's creation. He is a character who is heavily involved with the Dark Tower series, even though he's not been very prevalent so far. I mean, yes, he has made appearances in almost all the books. I've only read the first 4, of course, so far. But I also read The Eyes of the Dragon, where he was definitely an integral part of that book. And of course, I read The Stand in the past. And then I read earlier this year, Gwendy's Button Box, where I was suspicious of the character, of that character in that book, of being Randall Flagg, but I'm not quite sure that it may be. But the personality was very close. And that's why I love Randall Flagg, is his personality. And I do believe I've said this before in one of my reviews. I think maybe my review of Wizard and Glass, I may have mentioned this, but I know I have said this about Randall Flagg a few times. But he is one of my favorite characters. He's definitely my all-time favorite Stephen King villain. Well, thus far, I haven't read all of Stephen King yet, but it's just his personality and the way that I feel like his presence, just his overall presence, it's like he's not around, but he's always there in one way or another. You know, it's just like that air about him is just there. He may not be there physically, but he's there in spirit, per se, I guess. And that's something that fascinates me about that character. So yeah, that's my answer for that one. Prompt number 10. What is a book that made you sad or emotional? West with Giraffes. Yeah. This has probably been the one book that has hit me the most in the feels all year so far. But yeah, any book that can make me feel like I could cry a river, yeah, definitely high up there. Prompt number 11. What is a book that made you happy? Easily, the 3rd book of Nicole Brona's Midnight Detective Agency series, Midnight Murders. As I just said a couple of answers ago, that this series is, I think it's going to get better by book. So this one, being the most recent one, made me very happy because these characters are starting to develop. They were likable to begin with, but they're getting more engaging as it goes on. I feel like I'm really starting to learn and know and really care about these characters a lot more, and that's something that makes me happy. Plus, the stakes were definitely raised high. This is a very exciting book, so that made me very happy as well. Prompt number 12. What is the most beautiful book you've bought or received so far this year? And I'm assuming this is talking about a book cover. And I have said this before. It may not be the best read. It may be the most disappointing read. But by gosh, one thing I can definitely settle on is for this book is Moby Dick. This cover. This cover is just amazing. You can open it up and it just shows this whole picture. You know, it's got the whale on the front, the Pequod on the back. But when you open it up, but I love the coloring, the sky. It just has that kind of nostalgic feel for the era that this was printed or published in. I picked this up sometime last year, I believe, and it's just a beautiful, stunning cover. And the last prompt, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Okay, need to read. That reminds me of my Jurassic Reading Challenge, and that's pretty much everything I have left. I've got The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I have John Grisham, Book 1, Camino Island of this little series. I have The Call of Cthulhu and other stories by H.P. Lovecraft. The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. And, of course, Jurassic Park and The Lost World by Michael Crichton. But I may just do Jurassic Park. I'm not sure. I have this one that I'll explain later for a bonus prompt on the challenge called The Paleo Manifesto, Ancient Wisdom for Lifelong Health by John Durant, and to close the year out with Nos 4A2 by Joe Hill. All of these will be explained month by month as I go through, but yeah, because this is a required reading challenge, yeah, I need to read all of these by the end of the year. Anyway, the last prompt is to tag others, and again, open invitation. If you're watching this video and you want to do the tag, consider yourself tagged and have fun doing it. And that's it. My take on the 2026 mid-year Freakout book tag. If you stuck with me this far, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.